All right. Good morning. Who's excited? Yeah? Okay, welcome to the product keynote. I'm Junie, and I'm even more excited to be here with Patrick to talk to you about server and data center. Now, in the general session, you just heard about a lot of the amazing things that we have delivered and are planning to deliver. And we wanted to take a deeper look into some of the things that we're doing for server and data center, specifically around scale. Now, there's no better comparison from scale by taking a look around us outside at the Vegas Strip. In the 100-year history of the city, nothing illustrates scale and quickly scaling better than this place, which did not even have its first hotel until 1941. The city grew up, and quickly, and they had to figure things out. Basic things like finding the best brunch buffets to build, hosting shows, hosting summits, and more complex things, such as infrastructure. How do they set up a grid, construct an airport, and build hotels? Now, this is not too dissimilar from what you're trying to do. Just imagine with me. You're building your own cities that need to support thousands, if not tens of thousands of people, all of their interactions and their work on a daily basis. So now we have a lot to cover. The general session, just a short preview. This is going to be a jam-packed session. So let's get started. As we get started, I want to clarify on what we mean by scale for you. And the reality is, scaling in your enterprise means different things to different people. It might mean scaling your teams. How do you take what's great about your best performing teams and scale that company-wide? How do you operate at maximum efficiency and minimize overhead? In fact, it might mean scaling visibility, scaling service, or scaling productivity. And then there's the other side of scale, which is infrastructure. Making sure that you can keep your systems up, stay prepared for the future, and support the ever-increasing demands of your users. But no matter what dimension that you're trying to scale, you need the right products and guidance to support you. Now let's focus on scaling teams and the processes that make this possible. And let's start off with Agile at scale. As many of you may know, the next frontier of Agile is scale. And scaling Agile for visibility across different teams and an organization have introduced new challenges and complexity. Now, we've seen scale Agile adoption start with a single team that's using JIRA software to manage development projects. And then we see the Agile practices expand into team of teams, bringing different needs. Eventually, when Agile is going to reach every team in an enterprise, you're playing with a whole new ballgame. We have 3 exciting updates today that will help you and your teams bridge each of these transitions, growing to new levels of scale. So when you transition from a team to a team of teams, things like cross-project visibility, dependency management, and the ability to share plans with stakeholders becomes super important. And that's what Portfolio for JIRA is for. Portfolio for JIRA is an Atlassian solution that lets teams take all of their projects and rolls them up into a visual timeline that are easy to understand and open to everyone. And although you may have heard of Portfolio before, or maybe even used it in the past, today, we're excited to share the start of a brand new chapter. Introducing Portfolio for JIRA 3.0. Now, data releases offer an opportunity for us to shift our approach, make bold predictions about the future, and act on insights gathered from our customers. And with Portfolio for JIRA Server and Data Center 3.0, we've done just that. Based on inputs from customers like you, key elements of the platform have radically changed and are now more simple and intuitive to use. very flexible to your planning style and process, and transparent for all users. This gives your team the ability to plan for a future in an agile world and takes you from team-level planning to the next stage of scale. Now here you can see there's a new portfolio plan in 3.0. It has the work of multiple teams grouped into swim lanes. The magic of this new interface is that it's easy to manually set and make adjustments to your plans without having to deal with the data in JIRA. Here, we can see that there's a dependency conflict in this plan. The way to resolve this is to identify and drill into the cause of the blocking issue. Now, all you have to do is drag and drop the issue to the right spot and take care of the dependency conflict. This is going to help teams create a roadmap that they can all really get behind. Now, Portfolio for JIRA gives teams the flexibility to visualize their work and communicate their plans to other stakeholders. And this works great for multiple teams. But sometimes, as you continue to scale, you'll encounter new needs for reporting, planning, or even time tracking across your Agile teams. And since your company has its own unique needs, you need flexibility in your products to support this as you grow. That's why Atlassian is launching the Scaled Agile Marketplace, which provides a variety of leading apps to support your organization, helping its journey to scaling its Agile practice. So whether your team is looking for enhanced reporting capabilities, different hierarchy structure, or budgeting, or something else, Atlassian's marketplace of Agile at Scale apps is key to creating a custom-fit solution for your team. And finally, as Agile practices expand even further into other departments, or organizations start to take on a scaled Agile transformation initiative, there's a need for more visibility into all of the work happening across your organization. These teams have invested in reporting across their JIRA projects, but to show this type of visibility has been a challenge at the enterprise scale. For organizations who want to connect their business and technology teams across the entire organization and focus on connecting strategy to outcomes, we now have AgileCraft to tackle this challenge. And as you just heard this morning, maybe about an hour ago, we're excited to unveil the new brand identity, JIRA Align. This speaks to the core of exactly what we want to do, to align the organization so you can deliver the right outcomes that will be most impactful to your success. JIRA Align navigates all the complexity of Agile at Scale by taking all the work that's happening across programs and portfolios and providing a clear view for both executives and teams. It makes work and purpose visible across the entire organization, top to bottom, bottom to top, and side to side. It gets teams aligned across the enterprise and then really helps drive outcomes instead of outputs at scale. We couldn't be more excited about what the future looks like for our enterprise customers now that JIRA Align has joined the family. So whether you're evangelizing Agile at the team level, scaling up to team of teams, or going all in on Agile at Scale, Atlassian has the products to support you. Now, software teams are not the only ones who need to change the way that they work to become more responsive and agile. We're also seeing this trend towards Agile in IT too. As the role of IT grows in every organization, Agile approaches are critical in scaling digital transformation both inside and outside of a business. Today, you heard a lot about how Atlassian is doubling down in our investments in IT with new innovations to help IT teams drive change. But when it comes to operating at enterprise scale, we know that you have additional needs to scale service, support, and operations across your enterprise in ways that are fast and effective. And a key component of your enterprise IT service management solution is JIRA Service Desk. as you scale, JIRA Service Desk helps your work flow faster. Now, it could be helping your IT teams respond to dev requests or delivering frictionless IT experiences to your employees. Now, let's see what JIRA Service Desk Server and Data Center has in store for you. We know that customer portals, it serves as an important face of your IT organization. It's where your users are going to go to submit requests, troubleshoot, and get an idea of all the help that's available. First impressions matter. So it's important that your portal provides a simple and delightful experience. We're excited to announce that there is a fresh, new customer portal available in Server and Data Center. We took all of the goodness from the improved customer portal in JIRA Service Desk Cloud and now offer customization across the board. So now you can customize your portal with a banner that users will instantly recognize, themes and color combinations to match your brand, and a strategically placed search bar to encourage self-service. But we know it's not all about how your portal looks. As consumers, we all have come to depend on and prefer self-service. Question for the crowd. How many of you have been to an Amazon Go store? Some, maybe? Okay, some. It's this experience where there's no lines, no cashiers. It's all self-serve, and you get what you want with a frictionless experience. It is amazing. Go check it out. These expectations are being applied to IT organizations, and now your customers expect self-service to find answers or ask for help. And that's why we'll be adding new ways to put knowledge front and center in the customer portal, presenting articles in a way that will improve the chances of your users finding what they need, all without raising a ticket. Now, beyond the portal, we've seen other places to scale and improve the speed of service, specifically on the agent side. We're working to make your agents more efficient. And so they spend less time searching for tickets and getting the information that they need. We're investigating how to improve queues with better sorting and filtering, so your agents can focus on what's most urgent and what's most important. But we know ITSM isn't all about your service desk. Incidents do happen. And your enterprise IT teams need a better way to manage incidents and resolve them faster. For self-managed customers on Server and Data Center, JIRA Service Desk now seamlessly integrates with both Opsgenie and StatusPage. Opsgenie and StatusPage's SaaS architecture means that your incident response software, it runs on a separate infrastructure from all your other systems, and it's available even when your critical systems are down. As we continue to invest in cloud-hosted IT solutions, we're also making sure that you get seamless integration with your self-managed tools. And while our Agile approach to IT provides essentials out of the box, many of our customers integrate with our broad ecosystem of best-in-class apps to build a full-fledged ITSM solution that's customized to the way that they want. There are endless ways to customize your ITSM solution, from service management, asset management, project management, to automation or analytics. And for IT teams who are looking for new agile ways of working, we are investing in you. From improving self-service and agent productivity to managing your incidents and assets. Now, none of anything that we're trying to accomplish with scaled agile or a more agile approach to IT would be possible if we didn't consider the needs of the developers and the broader software team. To see how we're improving a software developer's quality of life and velocity, let's take a look at their workflow. Every developer, they work with a number of different team members, different teams, and across an increasing number of applications. As the complexity of your internal tools increases, finding ways to maintain a streamlined development process is paramount. Throughout a typical developer workflow, there are moments where they can experience delays or be forced to switch context. I'm going to zoom in on 2 steps of this workflow: committing and pushing changes, and build results. Let's look at what happens when developers are committing and pushing changes first. What happens if they want to view commit history? How do they gain visibility into the repository as a whole? Trying to understand the history and the impact of a stream of commits from the command line is difficult, if not impossible at times. So to make this easier, especially for new developers, we're introducing a new built-in commit graph. This is the second most voted feature in our community. Picture-taking moment. Developers can now visualize a repository's history, understand the relationship to commits, and find relevant commits without having to jump back into the command line. So we're providing a lot more visibility for your developers to become more efficient. How are we using this visibility to protect them from merge conflicts? We've heard from many of your developers that working with binary assets can sometimes be frustrating as they try to identify and fix merge conflicts. Many times, this can result in a loss of work. To protect your team's time and sanity, we've introduced Git LFS file locking in Bitbucket. With this, yay, awesome. With this, teams can now see if a file is being worked on and prevent others from pushing changes until that file has been unlocked again. All right, so let's move on to the next step, build results. As soon as a developer's pull request is open, the build and test cycle starts. This is another area in that we've invested to make things easier for developers. CI/CD can easily become a bottleneck, especially for the larger teams. It forces developers into a pull request purgatory until all tests have passed and the build is finally approved. Now, if a Git hosting instance becomes saturated, the build requests continue to back up in their queue, degrading performance and forcing developers to wait minutes or even hours until their pull request has been tested. So you have this purgatory, and you have a long queue. Definitely not a good thing, not a good situation. To solve exactly for that, we're introducing Smart Mirror Farms in Bitbucket Data Center. We're extending beyond smart mirrors, and we're bringing you Smart Mirror Farms. This makes me super excited, so I'm going to ask you to indulge me in my own Oprah moment. With Smart Mirror Farms, you get a mirror, you get a mirror, you get a mirror. Everyone gets a mirror. Okay, we got some Oprah fans out here. Good. A little bit nervous about that one. All right, let's get back to the details. So what we're actually doing is giving you the ability to cluster smart mirrors into farms, grouped together behind a load balancer. This will increase your team's CI/CD capacity and reduce the time for your distributed team's spending to wait on build results. It's going to improve the overall experience for your distributed teams. We're super excited about this, as you just saw. And finally, the last example I'm going to walk you through today is one near and dear to many developers' hearts. We've heard time and time again that they're missing a native integration for many of your favorite developer tools. This missing integration in particular has plagued both admins and developers alike, creating a number of friction points. Can anyone guess? All right. I'm excited to announce an Atlassian built and supported integration for Jenkins. Everyone gets an integration. Just kidding. It will provide admins and developers a seamless way to configure a Jenkins job to clone and fetch from Bitbucket's primary or smart mirrors, and automatically provide feedback from builds to commits and pull requests. So you'll see us continuing to make more improvements for your developers, particularly in Bitbucket. We're committing to ensuring that Bitbucket is synonymous with scaling Git, supporting the largest development organizations in the world. All right, I've gone through a lot of content on how we're supporting teams at scale, helping them become more agile and more productive. So now, I'm going to hand it over to Patrick, our group product manager for our data center products, to speak to you about how we're helping set up your application and infrastructure to support that growth in your teams. Patrick?
Thanks, Junie. Wow, it's exciting to be here. So Junie just talked about how teams and organizations are changing the ways that they get work done. And those changes, they trickle down. They have an impact on the tools that they use to get that work done. They create scale challenges. They create manageability challenges. And I'm going to spend some time talking about how we're helping you with those challenges. I have maybe a dozen things that we're really excited to share with you that we've been working on for the past half year or so. And I hope that through this, you see the thread of just how invested we are in making sure that our server and data center customers are successful for years to come. So, scale, infrastructure, manageability, along the realm of the admin. How many in here are admins? If you're somehow responsible, I have to shield my eyes here. Wow. Keep helping teams get the rest, maybe like 300-400 people in this room alone. I'll tell you one thing that keeps occurring to me. So I'm actually new to Atlassian. I've been here for about 8 months. This is my first summit. And yeah, woo. And as I walk around these past couple days and I meet you and I shake people's hands and I talk and I learn about what folks do, it keeps popping up in the back of my mind that with all the admins that we have here, all of you in this room at this conference, y'all are responsible for helping millions, maybe tens of millions of people around the world get their work done. And for me, that's just staggering in terms of impact. It's one of the reasons why I joined Atlassian in the first place. And we think you do a great job of it. So let's talk about that job and how it's evolving. As we work with our admins on scaling our tooling and so forth, we're seeing their world become more automated, more integrated, and more data-driven. All right, so we're going to talk through these 3 different trends. We're going to talk about how we're arming you to stay ahead of them and hopefully spend a little bit less time doing it. So first up, automation. Now, in today's world, it seems like everywhere you look, routine tasks are just disappearing, okay? Everything's connected to the internet. Your thermostat regulates itself. Your car can drive itself. And we're seeing similar things with IT tools, especially in the realm of deployment automation, where clouds and virtualization and orchestration rule the day. And it seems like every week I hear some new story of an admin who's automated away some daily task, usually as part of a migration to a virtualized environment. All right? Some of the more common examples we hear about are things like automating a data backup system, so you're always covered in the event of a disaster. Or automatically extracting logs whenever your monitoring system detects that there may be an issue. Or, and this one's definitely my favorite, giving your teams the ability to push a button and get an entire new instance of JIRA spun up for them automatically whenever they have a custom workflow that they want to use. And so over the past few years, we've seen more and more and more customers take advantage of these types of automation capabilities as they migrate to providers like AWS and Azure. All right? In fact, today, about 35% of our data center instances are deployed on top of one of the major cloud providers. And it's a trend we're leaning into. We know that this is the future for many of you. And we want to make sure that it's easy for you to be implementing the latest best practices on these platforms. So we've updated every single one of our AWS and Azure templates, which means better support for JIRA Software, Confluence, Bitbucket, and JIRA Service Desk Data Center. When you dive in, these templates, you're going to see that they're easier to use, and it's simpler for you to customize them for the way that your organization uses AWS or Azure. And another thing that you'll notice when you get to look into these templates is that we've begun unlocking certain infrastructure capabilities that are native to these platforms and exposing them as easy to configure options for you in the templates. So I actually have 2 examples of this that I want to walk you through today. They both build on some of the original value pillars of the data center product line. And the first one's in the area of high availability. Right? Now, when we launched Data Center 5 years ago, if you can believe it's been that long, one of the key promises was to go after downtime, right? And the first area we went after was the biggest area of downtime with the clustered application architecture. And then we went after planned downtime. That click didn't work. Planned downtime with zero downtime upgrades for JIRA DC and read-only mode for Confluence DC. Well, now we're taking it down to the database layer, and we're announcing support for Amazon Aurora. It's our first officially supported, highly available database for data center. Now, Aurora is going to be enabled as a single-line configuration option in those new templates that we just talked about. Now, the second example I have for you is in the area of improving support for your distributed teams. Okay? And you know the classic example here, right? Recently, we were talking to an admin who told us that it takes, for JIRA Actions, it takes nearly 4 times as long for them to complete for their users in Japan as their users in Europe, right? And that doesn't work, right? Like, we were actually joking on the phone that it's sort of like forcing a bunch of your teams to log in via a dial-up internet connection. So, to help with JIRA performance issues like this, we're going to give you the ability to use a content delivery network to accelerate the experience of your remote teams. And for those of you who use AWS, CloudFront will also be a super simple configuration option in those templates, but you're going to be able to use any CDN you want. You can even use a reverse proxy. And you can use that CDN with any one of our core data center products: JIRA Software, Bitbucket, Confluence, and JIRA Service Desk. Now let's dig into this just a little bit. How exactly does a CDN, a content delivery network, help you and help your end users, right? What the CDN does is it caches and delivers static assets from a location that's much closer to your end users than the origin server, right? And that does 2 things. The first thing it does is, for your remote users, it accelerates their experience as they interact with the UI of the product. And the other thing it does is simultaneously offload your primary application instance, particularly during peak times. Now, if you take JIRA as an example, and you look under the covers, the average request for a JIRA or loading of a JIRA ticket in a browser page, about 80% of the requests that get made to the server are for static assets of the type that can be cached by a CDN. Okay? And so for us at Atlassian, when we've turned on CDN, that's translating to about a 30% improvement in performance for our remote teams. It's pretty good. For Confluence, for us internally, that translates to about a 25% performance improvement for our remote teams. Now, obviously, your results are going to vary based on things like network latency and client distribution and so on. So we're going to give you some guidance so you know when CDN is appropriate for you. And there's one more thing I want to talk about while we're still on this topic of improving performance for your remote teams, which is that soon we're going to start automatically enabling HTTP2 whenever your network supports it. Our tests show that that can give you up to an additional 20% performance gain for your remote teams. And H2 support is going to be enabled for all of your core products for both your server and your data center editions. Now, this increasingly integrated world. Remember how Junie talked about this growing landscape of IT tools that are used in Agile at Scale and Agile IT and modern software development? Now, that landscape grows more complex every single year, and you know that. And your Atlassian tools, they live inside of this landscape, right? And the way that you stitch everything together is almost like your own organizational integration fingerprint, okay? And this kind of extensibility, this ability to fit within a broader ecosystem of tools, it's always been a strength of the Atlassian products, all right? And we want to make sure that it's always as simple, secure, and reliable as possible for you to fit our tools into the way that your organization needs to get work done. And one of the most common ways that you do this is with marketplace apps. All right? Some of you have most of you have dozens of apps. Some of you have hundreds of apps across all of your different instances in your organization. And that can lead to some pain. Recently, I was talking to one of our own internal admins at Atlassian, and they were telling me about how they had recently had to hunt down an issue where JIRA was hiccuping, their word. And after a few days of digging through logs and so forth, they discovered that it was a misbehaving app that they had to turn off. And of course, the problem with that is that there's a reason why that app was installed, right? We depend on that to get work done at Atlassian, just like we do the primary Atlassian tools. And you probably have similar stories of your own in this vein. It's something we've been wanting to improve for a while, which is why this past September, we launched our DC Apps program. Okay, it was a way of improving the quality of apps that run in high-scale environments. And after a ton of work over the last 7 months, I'm really excited to tell you that we now have more than 340 data center approved apps in the marketplace that represent 83% of the top apps used by our customers today. Now, what I think is really interesting about this is over the last few months, we've been able to start getting data back from customers who've begun adopting these data center apps. And what we're seeing is an 18% reduction in the number of priority support issues that they report back to us. Now, that's for a program that's only 7 months old. We have a team that's dedicated to moving this forward, to bringing more apps on board and helping vendors deliver higher quality, more secure applications for you. Okay, now while we're talking about this area of integrations and automations and so forth, you may have noticed that sometimes all those apps and automations can cause performance problems for your products. Like that time that you found out that an app was accidentally DOSing your JIRA instance, like our IT admin was talking about recently. Or the CI that keeps triggering build storms and bringing your Bitbucket instance down to its knees. And finding the root cause to these types of slowdowns, these types of issues, is a real challenge for admins. You have to dig down into system logs and arcane portions of the products, figure out who's responsible, go hunt those people down, ask them to modify scripts, uninstall apps, and things like that. And so we keep hearing from our customers that it would be really great if the products could just protect themselves from this sort of automated abuse. And that's what we've been working on with our rate limiting that you heard from Cameron earlier. We're releasing rate limiting for Bitbucket, JIRA Software, and JIRA Service Desk in the not-too-distant future. And that's going to give you the ability to set thresholds for the number of requests allowed per user across your organization within a given time frame. And the goal here is just that you want your admins to be able to sleep at night knowing that a rogue script's not going to bring down your JIRA instance. And now, specifically, this solution is going to target REST API usage. But we realize that this isn't the only place or the only products where you experience this type of automated abuse. So you're going to see continued investment from us in additional self-protection mechanisms that will also spread across to other products. So we're talking about a world that's more automated, that's richly integrated into an ecosystem of tools. And of course, what comes with that is data. Lots and lots of data. Our teams generate more data every day than we ever know what to do with. And the thing about that data is that it's usually only valuable if we can keep it proprietary and sometimes highly confidential. And managing that data in this way is one of the responsibilities of our admins. And sometimes it's not very easy, right? We hear stories of admins who discover that a user has access to a page or a space or an issue that was unexpected they shouldn't have access to, and they have to hunt down and figure out why, and then fix that, and then maybe worry a little bit that something like that's going to happen again in the future. And whenever we hear these stories, we kind of talk to ourselves and we say, wouldn't it be nice if you could just log into a single page and see every single permission schema across every one of your self-managed Atlassian products and every instance of those products in one place? And that's what we're re-envisioning for the future of Crowd Data Center. Now, as a quick side note, for those of you who aren't familiar with Crowd, it's our centralized tool for managing user access across all of your Atlassian self-managed products. And we're working to turn it into a full-fledged control center for admins, a place where they can go to see what's happening across all of their Atlassian instances. And that's going to begin soon with centralized permissions visibility, like I just talked about, as well as centralized license visibility, which is going to give you the ability to see and track that myriad of server and data center licenses that seem to just crop up all over your organization. And oh, by the way, if you want a sneak peek of that, then I suggest you go check out the Crowd Team Ship It Live presentation tomorrow. It's pretty cool stuff. Now, this data-driven world is about much more than just knowing who has access to what. It's also about managing that information in a way that makes it possible for your users, the ones who should have access to that data, to find what they're looking for. And with more and more of you joining what I like to call our 8-figure club, which is 10 million issues in a single JIRA instance, it's increasingly difficult to keep that data clean, okay? And that's why last year, we announced project-level archiving for JIRA Software and JIRA Service Desk Data Center. Now, it's a simple but powerful way to remove out-of-date information from the system and make it easier and faster for your end users to find what they're looking for. Now, when we announced project-level archiving, we also told you that it was the beginning of an arc of work, that we had other ideas for helping you manage old data. In particular, project-level archiving is a bit too broad for certain customers and certain use cases, right? Particularly customers who have really large or long-lived projects. And it also didn't make quite as much sense for JIRA Service Desk customers, where archiving a project basically meant archiving an entire service desk. So that's why we're going to be introducing issue-level archiving for JIRA Software and JIRA Service Desk Data Center. Now, I see a couple of you are like your wheels are already turning. We are releasing an API with this so that you don't have to archive thousands and thousands of issues by hand. Yep. And we're also going to make it possible for you to use JQL queries to collect and archive issues as a bulk action. Nice. So let's see. We're in a world that's more automated, more integrated, has lots and lots of data. You get this. You're living this change yourself. But at the same time, we know that the more the world changes, the more some things stay the same, right? Performance, stability, scalability, right? The core value propositions of our data center product line, these are always going to be your biggest battle, okay? And as a result, they're always going to be one of our primary areas of investment for you. And this starts with the major releases that you heard about from Cameron earlier today, right? We've been hard at work making sure that across all of our server and data center products, you have a platform that you can depend on for years to come. Now, you heard Cameron talk about several performance improvements. Okay, he talked about agile board load times and JQL search speeds and so forth. The reality is that that's just the tip of the iceberg, right? It's what we were able to squeeze into 45 seconds of a presentation that's just packed with information, right? So I'm going to suggest that when you get a chance, go read the release notes. It's maybe not the most exciting bedtime reading, yep, but what you're going to see is that we've filled these releases with performance and scale and deployment improvements, okay? And we're doing that all because of you, right? Some of you add hundreds of thousands of issues to your JIRA instances every single month, okay? And when I walk around and I talk to our architects, particularly the ones who've been around at Atlassian for a long time, it's pretty clear that just a few years ago, that would have been a daunting prospect. But now it's just the new normal, right? We tested scales much larger than this today. And so it does beg this really interesting question about the future. Like, where is all this going, okay? And our current expectation is that your users, they're going to continue to invent ever more creative ways to use the product. They're going to tax it in new ways in terms of scale and performance. And so we're working to stay ahead of that. And I think like my personal favorite example of this is, in addition to all these performance improvements that you've seen, these platform releases and so forth, is about a year ago, we put together a crack team of architects from across all the different products. They call themselves DC Next Generation. And we gave them an aspirational mission, which was to 10x the products, okay? Now what that means is that we're looking at every dimension of scale across our products, issues, projects, pages, spaces, custom fields, repos, you name it. And we're looking to add a 0 to what we can support today. Now it's a super ambitious goal, okay? Ultimately, it's driven by your organization's ambition. And in some ways, that brings us back to Juni's growing a city analogy from earlier, right? Like imagine 10xing Vegas, okay? Like what would that mean to you? Actually, don't tell me that. So look, whether it's scaling your teams and your organizations, helping them become more agile in the ways that they deliver software and IT services, like Juni was talking about in the first half of this presentation, or whether it's scaling your tools and your infrastructure, and honestly scaling your admins themselves, right? We're going to be there with you on this journey. We're super excited about it, and thank you for bringing us along with you, for being here today, for making all this possible. We'd love to talk to you more about all this. So come find us over in the data center booth in the product hub. As you can see, we just have tons and tons of stuff to share with you that we can't do in a 45-minute presentation here. So come tell us what you're working on and how it is that we can help. And hopefully we'll see you later today. And if not, then we'll see you next year. Thanks.